Good evening, Zimbabwe. Welcome to Livetalk, The Connection, a platform where we discuss issues affecting young people. We are coming to you live from Studio 7 at the Voice of America in Washington. This Tuesday, April the 4th, 2023. I am Tungamili Nkomo. Tonight, we are talking about the continuing outrage over a documentary series by Al Jazeera alleging high-level corruption in the trading of gold in Zimbabwe and money laundering, with the government today announcing it has opened an investigation and promising stiffer consequences for anyone found guilty. We will also talk about the arraignment of former U.S. President Donald Trump following his indictment by a grand jury on a slew of charges in New York. This is the first time a current or former president of the United States has been charged with a criminal offense. Mr. Trump will appear in a Manhattan court in New York this afternoon. As we speak, he is technically under arrest. But for now, let's talk Zimbabwe and the explosive gold mafia documentary. Information Minister Monica Mutsvangwa today finally issued a government response to the gold mafia documentary series by Al Jazeera, which implicates a number of gold traders, one of them a convicted criminal. The documentary features President Emmerson Mnangagwa's special envoy, Hubert Angel, and his right-hand man, Ricky Doolan, who both appear to implicate their boss, Mr. Mnangagwa, saying they can launder millions of dollars with his blessings. Litshona njani Zimbabwe omuhle, siyahlangana kuhlelo labasakhulayo olwe The Connection. Namhlanje sixoxa ngokwebiwa kwegolide leZimbabwe kanye lokungeniswa kwemali elizweni ngaphandle komthetho okuthiwa yi-money laundering ngesingisi. Ingeniswa yilabo abalobudlelwano lomongameli Emmerson Mnangagwa njengalokho okuphume kufilimu ye-Al Jazeera elesihloko esithi Gold Mafia. Ngemva kokuzithulela okwamaviki amathathu phezu kwalolu daba, uhulumende usethembise ukuthatha amanyathelo. Umphathintambo obona ngokwethulwa kwemibiko unkosikazi Monica Mutsvangwa utshele intatheli ezindaba namuhla ukuthi amapholisa asephenya lolu daba, njalo uthe labo abaphuma kufilimu le abazatholakala belamacala bazajeziswa. Sizaphatha njalo udaba lukaMnumzana Donald Trump, yena owake waba ngumongameli weMelika ozamiswa enkantolo namuhla esetheswa amacala achiyeneyo. Kwaziwa ibatereri be-Studio 7 nasimuchirongwa che Livetalk, The Connection, tiri utarisa nyaya yekubiwa kwegoride reZimbabwe neuwori hunotyisa uhwo huri kubuditswa nefirimu re-Al Jazeera rinonzi Gold Mafia. Firimu iri rinobata vanhu vakawanda vanoshanda nehurumende yeZimbabwe uye vanoti vanodyidzana nemutungamiri wenyika vaEmmerson Mnangagwa. Gurukota rinoona nekufambiswa kwemashoko amai Monica Mutsvangwa vaudza vatori venhau kuHarare nhasi kuti mapurisa ava kuferefeta nyaya iyi uye vanoti vese vachabatwa nemhosva vacharangwa zvakaipisisa. Tichabata zvakare nyaya yekumiswa pamberi pedare kwavaDonald Trump avo vakambova mutungamiri weAmerica. VaTrump vachamiswa mudare reManhattan kuNew York nhasi vachipomerwa mhosva dzakasiyana-siyana kunova kwekutanga munhoroondo yeAmerica kuti akambova mutungamiri kana kuti mutungamiri wenyika amiswe pamberi pedare. Back in Harare, addressing the Gold Mafia expose this afternoon, Minister Mutsvangwa said, quote, "Government takes the allegations raised in the documentary series seriously," adding, Any person found to have engaged in acts of corruption, fraud, or any form of crime will face the full wrath of the law. Here she is.
Government takes note of a documentary titled Gold Mafia, which purports to expose a network of alleged money laundering and gold smuggling in Zimbabwe. Government takes the allegations which are raised in this documentary seriously and has directed relevant organs to institute investigations into the issues raised therein. Any person found to have engaged in acts of corruption, fraud, or any form of crime will face the full wrath of the law. Government takes this opportunity to reaffirm its commitment to upholding local and international laws, including laws relating to financial transactions, the trade of gold, and the other precious minerals of our country. Boastful behavior and name dropping by some personalities featured in the documentary, seeking personal gain and glory, should never be taken as an enunciation of government policy. Government remains seized with the matter.
That was Zimbabwe Information Minister Monica Mutsvangwa addressing a press conference in Harare earlier today. Elsewhere, former U.S. President Donald Trump will this afternoon be arraigned before a court in Manhattan, New York, on a number of criminal offenses related to hush money he allegedly paid to a porn star to buy her silence as Mr. Trump pursued his presidential bid in 2016. As said already, this is the first time a current or former U.S. president is being charged with a criminal offense. This has divided Americans, with some in support, while others argue it sets a wrong precedent. Here is VOA's Arash Arabasadi reporting.
Clear skies above a Manhattan courthouse where former President Donald Trump is expected later to face criminal charges. The streets are packed with news media from around the world as Trump becomes the first former president in American history to be indicted. The specific charges against Trump are not yet known, but relate to a so-called hush money payment for an alleged extramarital affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels. Daniels says Trump paid her to stay quiet about the story during his 2016 presidential campaign. Trump denies all charges. The former president on Monday arrived at his New York City skyscraper ahead of Tuesday's expected surrender. He was greeted by protesters and supporters alike. New York's Mayor Eric Adams issued a simple order to the forming crowds.
Control yourselves. New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger.
The Manhattan District Attorney's Office will unseal the charges in the indictment after Trump's surrender. Trump is expected to be released later Tuesday and return to Florida, where he's expected to frame his indictment as a rallying cry for his 2024 presidential bid. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News.
Thank you there, Arash Arabasadi, reporting for VOA from New York. Again, as we speak, technically Mr. Trump is under arrest after handing himself over to the New York police. This afternoon, sikhuluma nje ubaba Donald Trump avakambo wamtungamiri weAmerica usebochiwe usemapholiseni sikhuluma nje. And okay, let's take a short break.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain, and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, Our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depend on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
Kwabasanda kusikhuma, this is Live Talk, The Connection, and we are streaming live on our Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. We are also live on YouTube at VOA Zimbabwe. You can also find us on our websites, voandebele.com, voashona.com, as well as voazimbabwe.com. Now to discuss these very important matters, we are joined, first of all, by Mr. Stephen Sarkozy Chuma, youth spokesperson of the opposition CCC. We'll talk to him while we wait for other guests. Mr. Sarkozy, good evening and welcome to Live Talk.
Thank you, Mungamini. Thank you. Greetings, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much. We saw earlier Mr. Sarkozy, Minister Monica Mutsvangwa, vowing stiffer action against anyone featured in the Al Jazeera gold smuggling and gold mafia documentary who will be found guilty of any offense. What's your take?
The history of corruption in this country under ZANU-PF administration since 1980 is very clear. We know what happened in the late 80s when we talk about the Will of Your Gate scandal. Zvino zikama zviri pachena vanhu vakaba hakuna kana one akaenda kujere. Toziva zvakaitika vamugabe pacha vakataura nyaya 15 billion hakuna kana one zvakaenda kujere. Tozouya panyaya ino iri kutaurwa yegold mafia iyi. Umwe wacho anonzi Henrietta Rushwaya akatobatwa negoridhe re6 kg paairport Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport. Vakatozosungwa ndimajournalist vakabudisa nyaya iyo vana hope uno. Nanhasi ari kufamba madiro. Nhasi zvendiye the same person watiri kuona nekuti ihama yava Mnangagwa. Ende vaMnangagwa mudocumentary regold mafia vari kutotaurwa nemamafia acho kunzi aiwa wanzi waenda kuna number 1 kurova Mnangagwa zvinhu zvatonaka. So handizivi kuti uyowo mukadzi uyo mai Mutsvangwa simba racho anowana kupi, nokuti kana iye Mnangagwa vaMnangagwa varivo vakuru vegold mafia kuzotiwawo mai vanga vachingotaurawo zvavo ndiyo atingati PR stand pachirungu kurova kuti no, she was just talking because the people of Zimbabwe are angry. The people of Zimbabwe are not happy because the national cake is being looted by a few elites. So we know that ZANU-PF yapererwa. Takaona the spokesperson wa Mnangagwa George Charamba achitaura kuti no sungai majournalist wasanyora nyaya iyoyo arrested them. So kana vakutaura pressure yakungobva wakuwana. So what is clear is that when Mnangagwa spokesperson says no, anyone who dares to talk about corruption in this country, anyone who dares to talk about the documentary by Al Jazeera must be arrested. It is clear that the head, which is Emerson Mnangagwa, doesn't want this issue to be spoken about. So we know it's a PR stunt.
Asi Sarkozy kana Minister Mutsvangwa vachiti there will be reckoning for anyone featured in that documentary. Takaona va Angel, vana Dulan, and all those featured, vana Patton. Kana vachiti, Minister vachiti, there will be accountability. We saw some of them alleging kuti vari kushanda na vaMnangagwa. Saka, when the minister says there will be accountability for anyone featured in that documentary, who will be found guilty avarevi kuti naivo vamunangagwa vacho vakawanikwa vaine mhosva vacharangwa here?
That's why I said it's difficult for Monica Mtsangwa to say anyone who will be found guilty, because that's a PR stunt. That's a PR stunt like a spokesperson of the government. What is clear is that Monica Mtsangwa, she's there by appointment by Mnangagwa. We've seen what's happening in ZANU-PF. We've seen the issues of corruption. Priscilla Mfumira, including here in Rushwaya, Akabatwa, Asana Mboraga and Masoka Mtiwani. Because we can look at Maria video, but they were very minister. Nasa put Akambo try wire. So it's not just 16 years on, they protect each other. One Marino and Gavana and Scala. You are not going to go to take another one, so I'm here to Rosna Mosa. So it's up to Zan, it's all system, it's a couch, it's a culture, you put him in Anoba. I don't go into opposite, it's 2 minutes. Ojoka oriwadwa onaiva vashava vanga vari panguva yenhiye ava foreign minister vanga vari panguva yeunogeti scandal iye zvine zvakabva vatoriwadwa zvanzono iwe chienda kune dzimwe nyika unoita spokesperson unoita foreign minister uchitaura nyaya dzedu dzecorruption. So tozi ZANU-PF inotori neculture yecorruption. So tozvati Mtsangwa ari kungotaurawo semunhu ari pabasa saspokesperson wegovernment. Basa rake ndinoonekana kuti kana paitawo kuti vanhu vaZimbabwe vari kututumwa havasi kufara zviri kuita munyika, anozongopota kuti tichazosungwa vachiita sei. Asi hatina kana munhu wani watinoziva zvake government official akaenda kujera kanopika panyaya dzecorruption. This is on record and we know that.
Thank you there, Mr. Sakozi Siyabonga, and please do stay on the line. Now we are joined by Mr. Regis Charumbira of the ruling ZANU-PF. Charumbira tinokugamuchirai muchirongo. Charumbira muri kundinzwa? Hello, Mr. Charumbira, can you hear me? There seems to be a bad connection there with Mr. Charumbira. We will try to reconnect with him. Ndidzokere kwamuri vaSakozi. Sakozi limzwile isikhulumeli sabasakhulayo kubandla le-CCC. Uyasola uthi yena lanxanje umphathi intambo bona ngokwethula kwembiko unkosikazi Monica Mtsangwa ethembisa ukuthi abaphume ku-documentary Al Jazeera abafana labo Ubed Angelo, Dulani, Patton abaphuma kuleyo documentary bezitshaya isifuba ngokuthi bayakwanisa ukwenza imisebenzi yenkohlakalo, ukwenza money laundering, ukungenisa imali ngaphandle komthetho eZimbabwe. Uthi bonke abaphuma kuleyo documentary bazabanjwa ngesandla somthetho esilukhuni, ngoba uthi uMonica Mtsangwa amapolisa aseqalisile ukuphenya lolu daba. We have Mr. Charumbira again on the phone now. Mr. Charumbira, can you hear me now? Charumbira muri kundinzwa? Mr. Charumbira? Mr. Charumbira muri kundinzwa here? I think let's just drop him and get another guest. Bengisakhuluma ngokuthi uSakozi yakhuluma lapho uthi hala nxa ethembisa umphathi intambo wobona ngokwethulwa kwembiko ukuthi abantu bazabotshwa. uSakozi uthi akakukholwa lokho ngoba bona abathi bazabopha abanye yibo abenza imisebenzi yenkohlakalo ephathelane lokwebiwa kwegolide kanye le money laundering. vaSakozi ndidzokere kwamuri muri kuti zviri kutaurwa naMai Mtsangwa hapana chichaitika apa. Asi imimi wose CCC, you are the main opposition. Chii chamuri kuita panyaya because tikuona dai kuri kune dzimwe nyika dai maopposition achitoisa pressure befa kumfuto Asi vamwe vari kuchema-chema nekuti besides kungonyunyuta pamasocial media apa hapana zvamuri kuita setriple C.
Isusu setriple C tiri bato remacitizens. Kureva kuti zvirongwa zvedu zvose zvinotanga zvaenda kumacitizens toronga. Hatingoti chamuka nyama. Meaning to say we plan, we organize and we mobilize. Nyaya yedocumentary inyaya yekutibata yasingaiti makazviona takabva tatochinja languages. Because the documentary is in English, but we translated it into the official languages of Zimbabwe to make sure that each and everyone anonzwisisa kuti nyaya yecorruption yakashatirei uye kuti vari kudira nyika ndoanani. Izvozvo ndo zvatakakwanisa kuitika so far. But beyond that, pane zvatiri kuita, we are engaging my citizens grassroots, and I can tell you that be prepared for a massive action. And it's musi wa18 April, Independence Day, my citizens edu vari kudiaspora anonzwisa kuti nyika ino inofana kufamba sei vakatotanga kuseta pace. Musi wa18 April vachange vari paembassy yeku-UK, United Kingdom, vachidemonstrata kuti no zviri kuitwa zvekuba ufiri hwenyika hazvina kunaka. Asiwo kuno kumusha kuZimbabwe pane zvatiri kuronga zvikuru kwazvo nekuti takaona kuti no vamunangagwa ari kutraya kubloka democratic space, havachapinda nyaya dzemademonstration, vari kungobhana. Asi panyaya yekupiwa kweufiri hwenyika hatichamiriri vamunangagwa. Panyaya yekupiwa kweufiri hwenyika hatichamiriri kana mapurisa kuti vatipe nyaya dzekamba. Tiri kungoti isusu kana tangopedza chete nevagari vakatiudza tofamba sei zvinova zvichaita in the next few weeks, what's the space Zimbabwe, isu tiripo pakumiririra zvido zvevagari, zvido zvemacitizens. Saka naizvozvo we can tell you that there is something massive that is going to come in the next few weeks.
Siyabonga, and please do stay on the line. Uyathembisa lapho usakhozi uthi mhla ka-18 April ziyakhala e-UK lapho abasekeli be-Triple C abazatshengisela khona esigodlweni someli weZimbabwe khona ngale ngaseNgilandi. And now we are joined by human rights lawyer, Mr. Kennedy Masie. He's joining us from the great state of Texas here in the United States. Mr. Masie, good evening and welcome to Live Talk.
Yeah, thank you very much, and it's good to be here.
Thank you so very much, as always. We saw the government of Zimbabwe today, Mr. Masie, responding officially for the first time to the alleged high-level corruption alleged by the Al Jazeera documentary, Gold Mafia. The Minister of Information, Monica Mtswangwa, says government has opened an investigation and she is promising stiffer penalties against those who will be found guilty. What's your take?
Yeah, I think, the government stance is something that they should have done, way back. This documentary has been in the public domain for a while. But if indeed they are going to investigate, as they allude in the statement, then that is a welcome development. Because what we saw is something that is totally unacceptable, something that we don't expect to happen in a democratic, society. But we know Zimbabwe as we know it. Some of these things, especially when it comes to investigations, they're just all talk without action. So if they have put that letter in the public domain and they say that's what they're going to do, we're going to hold them by their word.
And the president himself has been implicated, by those, some of the characters in this documentary. They've been featured saying they can launder money with the blessings of the president. What does the minister mean when she says everyone featured in that documentary or implicated in that documentary will be made to account if found guilty? Does that include the president?
Well, I think that letter basically is just something, like this is my personal opinion, something that probably they have to say it in the public domain, because this issue not only affects Zimbabwe, the government, it affects the country in the region, sub-region, and also internationally, because here there are issues of money laundering. So basically, I think they just had to put out that letter with that stiffer language. But as we know, the president was implicated in that documentary. And we also know that in terms of the constitution, the president cannot be either investigated or even prosecuted while he is sitting. So we have to see the veracity or the seriousness of the government based on what they say, whether they are going to investigate and also whether they are going to make efforts to at least bring this issue into parliament if the president was involved in this, that an impeachment could happen, and the ZANU-PF can, the MPs could probably do that. But that is something that's probably is wishful thinking. But if they are serious, this issue has to go all the way into parliament, and if the president is implicated, an impeachment should come.
Mm-hmm. And now shifting gears, Mr. Masie, going to New York here in America. Former President Donald Trump is currently and technically under arrest after handing himself over to the police in New York. He's appearing in court today on a number of criminal charges. And this is the first time this has ever happened to a former or current U.S. president. Is the rule of law being observed here, or is a political witch hunt, as Mr. Trump says?
Basically, I would like to err on the fact that it's, the rule of law at play here, because Mr. Trump had enormous powers when he was still in president, when he was still the president, and for him to be indicted in New York on charges that happened before he was president, and them being executed now, it actually shows how strong the legal systems are in America here. And it also shows how independent these institutions are, that they actually can indict a former president to come and answer certain allegations. So to me, in as much as there might be some elements of politics, I would want to think that this actually shows that there are strong institutions that can actually take cases all the way and prosecute even the former president.
Thank you. Thank you there, Mr. Masie. And please do stay on the line as we take a caller here. Mlaleli Mtereri Magadi enyu. Tiripo hedu mapina mchirongo aitai gaga. VaTrump vari kumiswa pamberi pedare nhasi yakuZimbabwe uko. Government iri kuti chaferefeta nyaya yekubiwa kwegold. Tipewo pfungwa dzenyu pachidimbu.
Government yedu muitiro wayaona kumbonaka. Vanoda kungodla ivo chete pachavo. Ipapa ndivo vari kubatwa nenyaya dzemhosva dzese dziri kuitika idzi. After that ipapa muchaona kuti pachashayikwa kana munhu achasungwa kana kuita sei. Vanhu vanongosungwa chete vanhu veopposition navamwe vanhu vanenge vasingasapoti ZANU-PF ndo vanongoenda kumajere. Saka inini hangu zvinoitwa negovernment yedu hazvina kutonaka. Izvezvi tiri kungorarama senhapwa muno muSouth Africa, ivo vachingodla vachingotora gold vachingodla vachiita zoti Zimbabwe yacho itakishop yavo. Hazvina kunaka zvavanoita izvozvo.
Thank you there, caller. Tinotenda Mtereri, siyabonga kakhulu. And unfortunately, we gotta leave it there. We are out of time. That brings us to the end of our show, and would like to say thank you very much to our guests tonight, Mr. Stephen Sarkozy Chuma, Triple C Youth Spokesperson, as well as human rights lawyer Kennedy Masie, based in Texas here in the United States. We also tried to get in touch with Regis Charumbira of ZANU-PF. He had promised to be on the show, but the phones were just too difficult to go through. I am your host, Chunga Milinkomo, Kuna Zimbabwe.